Hey, what's up? It's Phoenix. I feel despair. It's a common thing, something I experience a lot actually, to the point to where it can lead to suicidal ideation and strong feelings of depression, hopelessness, and dread, and sometimes nihilism. And it makes me sad that I experience the despair that I do, because there are the days where I don't think I can make it another day, where I think that I'm done. And those are very dark places. And it might be that it's because we're inundated with messages about how we're not good enough, about how we need to do more, about how hard the human condition is, about how nobody cares about us, about how nobody cares about that we're trying to do the right thing. I'm going through a situation that's been ongoing, and it's one thing to have the ongoing reality of my mental illness, which I've had since I was a teenager, and the wild moods and delusions and psychosis that I end up in. But the point is, I'm going through this thing, and it's really difficult, and it's really hard, and it just seems like it just doesn't get better. And so if the world wants to be so negative, and with us being inundated with messages about how we need to do more, and about how our best efforts aren't enough, and about how we need to do these things in order to fit in, can just be a really lonely place. And thankfully I'm lucky because I have support, and I have people that care in my life. I am loved. But like I said, I feel that despair. And I feel it, and it's everywhere. You know, the whole reality of the negativity that we're constantly inundated with, of climate change and homelessness and drug addiction and violence and war and just all of these things. And you're just like, okay, fine. Then the world really is that bad. I'm not going to try to do better. I'm not going to try to get out of my despair, because no one seems to believe that there's even a point to it anyway, or that any of it matters. And so for me, I understand, that obviously this isn't always true. And that's why they talk about, in order to have your kind of tough-mindedness, you're able to train yourself to reframe things to have a kind of positive mindset and to keep a positive mind, and trying to look at it as like the negative is only one side of it. But when we're constantly inundated, like with the news or with media, or about how much life sucks and how bad our economic system is and how bad our government is and about how hard reality is and the fact that there's entropy and decay and death, I just think, fine, maybe I am truly nihilistic in my worst states of being, because it's just like, I see no point in continuing. I see no point in trying. And that is what the despair is. That is what the despair represents. And it's really deeply rooted, and I think very difficult to avoid. And we don't even acknowledge the despair that we feel, to the point to where this could lead to a deep existential crisis or crisis in general, where we don't even think there's any point in going on anymore. And this is what great philosophers like Friedrich Nietzsche have dealt with, and Schopenhauer, of this whole question of meaning and nihilism, and trying to figure out, like in the existentialist understanding, for instance, of this reality that nihilism exists and that there may be no reason at all, because there's no point to continue. And it's not like there's true justice, and it's not like there's this whole hope or reason to hope, because life is just so hard. And of course we know that there is always the self-pity element of it, which we try to avoid, the way in which we don't want to focus so much on the negative that we have a skewed understanding of life. But it's so difficult when you just sense these mixed messages, these messages about what we're not doing well enough, and the traumas that we face, and the difficulties that we have. And that is exactly why I say that I am experiencing despair. I have despair. I have no hope. And in the worst cases, it feels like anything that I'm doing is useless. Like you might have seen in my video Conveyance, where I was describing some of the intense emotions that I was feeling. And it's difficult. And of course you don't want to live in that realm, but I also think that it's really difficult to avoid, because what happens is, at least for me, my body responds to the world and to triggers and to situations. And no matter how much I try to implement a principle and believe in something, my body and mind just respond to the fear. And I feel that fear deeply. And the despair is deeply rooted. And it doesn't matter how much I try to change my thinking, that despair is there. And I can't do anything until my body finally catches up. Until my body and mind finally catches up. And I'm finally able to hopefully change my mind and to see the good in the world and to see the beautiful day and the beautiful sun and to see the wonders of the universe and the fact that I get to enjoy good meals and the fact that I have people that care about me and the fact that I get to do my art. And it's just so difficult because the despair can come from feeling like you're powerless, feeling like you have no control, feeling like nothing that you do matters. Or I could get into my head about how I feel like I'm not successful because I'm not doing enough in terms of my creativity, and I'm not where I'd like to be with my books. For instance, although I'll admit music has been going very well, which has surprised me, and I'm looking forward to that. So there's one thing that it's easy to overlook because it's so easy to focus on the negative. But I wanted to be honest about my thought process because that feeling of despair is so real. And the way that it works with my mental illness and my mind and my body is I just have to wait until I no longer feel that suffering. And they say that suffering is a state of mind, which I understand because it is. We definitely can change our mentality so our suffering changes. But that's what it feels like to me, is it just feels like this pain that doesn't go away and this pain that doesn't change. This pain that is always there. And I know that it's not always there, but this is why people do unfortunately commit suicide in the first place, is because the pain becomes too much and they can't deal with it anymore. And it just becomes too overwhelming. And that's what it's like for me when I'm in these feelings of despair, which is why I wanted to be vulnerable and honest, because that despair can be overwhelming and can take over you to the point to where your body can't even handle what's going on, to where your mind is racing and you're overthinking things and you don't know where to begin, and your mind is also muddled and confused. And how much all of that sucks. And so what I want to say is that the despair goes deep. What I want to say is that I'm trying to live a better life. I'm trying to improve my life. I'm trying to do better for myself and to do the right things and to help other people and to do good, hopefully with my art and the things that I focus on. And then love. Love is such a huge thing. Love is such a huge thing to focus on, and that's what I want to do. But it's also hard because you hit those feelings of despair and you just want to give up, because you don't think there's any reason to continue. You feel like it's over. You feel like there's no point in trying. And with all of the negative things that we experience, it's easy to believe that. And I wish we would do better. So yeah, I'm Phoenix. Thank you for watching. I hope that you'll check out my other videos. I hope that you'll check out my books. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for listening to my video. I will see you around.